Good morning, friends. It's still morning, you can be more energized, actually. So, thank you, VC Circle, for inviting me here, and honored and a great pleasure. I've been shown the counter first that there's a counter running on, so I will try and squeeze as much as possible in this 20-25 minutes about the story of Micromax, and then whatever our learnings are, and of course that will throw it open for question and answer. So I'll just quickly take you through this our story. We started this company in year 99 or so. We were 4 friends coming out of college and said, okay, let's start. So we said, yeah, what do you want to do? And at that time, everybody was doing software. All our friends and all, we were joining. I'm joining Infosys, Satyam, and all those companies. So that was so whatever is happening right now, the whole frenzy happening right now is, it was happening that time in the whole .com space. So the original name of this company was Micromax Software. After that, we never got that name in registrar of company, so we changed it to Micromax Informatics. So still it is, so although we're into mobile phones, but the name is still Micromax Informatics. So we started as a software company and started into those days when ERPs were really hot. So we started on with SAP, and I'm talking about those days when in India, when in Hyderabad, all the bars were converted into SAP centers. Everybody was learning SAP. So we went into it and started doing all this in SAP ABAP for programming and all. But quickly that market crashed. And then everybody was talking about the .com, and we said, yeah, .com is fantastic. Immediately we moved on to .com, started working on a B2B, B2C engines. I was a business development guy, so I was in and out of the Bay Area. I was scouting for business there. That time I was quite young. So I was listening to Alok, and he was saying, okay, what is it that when you're raising money, what is required? So I think number one point is about your passion. I think that is something what all these VCs are looking at, that how much passionate you are about your business. And thinking about passion, since we were there in, as I said, we were into softwares, into e-commerce. So I was quite young in year 2000. I'm talking about those days when everybody wanted to have their last name, surname as .com. I still remember Sun Microsystems, they were hoarding in US, and it was like a Sun Microsystems, and the tagline was, we are the in .com. So of course, I was there out. So in US, and those days when you're a startup, you always look out for uncles or relatives because you don't have money to spend and on hotels. So I was staying with one of my uncles there, and his neighbor was some big shot of Microsoft. So I just went to his home. And I saw there was, they were having a maid there. Now in US, if you're having a maid, it's a big thing. And that maid was watching CNBC. And she was like, well, how much is the stock of Microsoft? How much is the stock of Yahoo? अच्छा, हमने उस टाइम पे CNBC देखा ही नहीं था, घर में मतलब केबल ही नहीं था उस टाइम पे. So I was shocked. I said, what? So that was that whole frenzy that time. That was, those crazy days. And talking about passion in terms of when you're giving your story, I'll tell you a small incident what happened with me. So I was in New Orleans going back to California. And New Orleans, so I was on airport. And this I'm talking about year 2000. I was at airport. I was just taking my boarding card. So there was this black guy who was giving boarding card there. So, and their accent in New Orleans is quite thick, difficult to understand. So he just saw me and then said, okay, tall guy, you pack your bag yourself? I said, excuse me, sir. He said, you pack your bag yourself. I realized that he's asking, yeah, you pack your bag yourself. I said, yes. Because in India, nobody asks you, did you pack your bag yourself? He said, okay, tall guy, well, you want a window or an aisle? I said, excuse me. He said, you want a window or an aisle? I was not able to understand much. In the whole sentence, I was able to understand window. So I thought, yeah, this software boom happening. This guy must be thinking this guy is from India. Software चल रहा है हर जगह. So he must be asking कि क्या operating system use कर रहे हो? क्योंकि window, I was able to understand window. So मैंने कहा latest मैंने कहा Windows 2000. That guy got angry. He just took a paper and he drew a plane and he said, window or aisle? I said, yeah, whatever. So I'm talking about passion. This was all, what we were thinking, in those days. So I think passion is very important. Moving on, that .com also crashed. And then we realized that again, that was a time when we realized that this is a very dynamic industry and you have to quickly tweak and quickly move forward. You can't just stay and say, okay, what do we do? So we quickly moved on to embedded technology at that time. Tied up with the University of California, Irvine. They were having an embedded competency center. So we started working on different platforms, ARM, PowerPC, x86 and all, and started working on products. So we always wanted to be a product company. So that was a time when we learned how to write softwares to make all the hardwares, smart. And so that was our journey. So we were moving on embedded technology. One fine day, Nokia was looking for an M2M partner. For mobile phones, they were already having HCL as distributors. For M2M, which is machine to machine, they were looking for a partner. So they came to us and they said, would you like to do the distribution of our M2M? Because M2M is, they give you a GSM engine, and that you have to connect that GSM engine with any third-party device. So you need to work on device drivers, you need to write various softwares. So we became Nokia's M2M partner, started working on all these engines. So just to give you an example, if you have to turn let's say, the street lights on or off by sending an SMS, you need to connect it with some GSM engine. So we used to do that, and one fine day, I was just sitting with this, one of the Nokia guys. He showed me a big, a fixed wireless terminal. So I said, what is this? His name was Henry. He was just living next door from here in Beverly Park. So he said, this is a fixed wireless terminal. I said, why do you make this? He said, in Finland, we have these snow houses or dams. If there are no fixed lines, we use this, as fixed line. We can connect a PSTN telephone with this, and this acts as a fixed line. So he said, can you do something with this in India? I said, snow we only have in the upper northern region, rest other we don't have these markets, but let me see what can we do. So we had this idea, we said, okay, if we can connect this with any third-party device, why can't we make this as a payphone? We took that device, changed the software, and connected that device with a payphone. We went to Airtel and Vodafone, on all these areas. We said, okay, would you like to have payphones, on Airtel and all? And they said, how can you do that? We said, this is the machine. You can connect a PSTN line. Those days, payphone were only there with BSNL and MTNL. So they got quite excited. They said, okay, implement it. We implemented that, and then all the, Airtel was having those payphones all across India. And that was a time when Micromax, we were from a Delhi-based company. We became a national company. They gave us a contract all across India. And we opened all 23 offices and became a sort of a national organization. So the business was doing fine. Again, I got a call from the Nokia guy. He said, come on, Rahul, I have a good news and bad news. So I said, what is the bad news? He said, come over my home, we'll discuss. I went there. I said, yes, Henry, what happened? I said, what is the bad news first? He said, the bad news is that we have sold this M2M business worldwide. So I said, why? But we are doing so well. He said, it's a global decision. We can't help it. I said, what is good news? He said, good news is that as Nokia, we are coming in car accessories business and we would like you to distribute. I said, no, thank you. We don't want to get into car accessories business. I went back. We made our own equipment, stamped in Micromax, went back to Airtel and Vodafone and we said, Nokia is no more. This is Micromax. Would you like to use this equipment? They said, there's this shrine up in the north, Vaishno Devi. They said, just install these machines up there because the traffic is 24 hours there. They said, if this machine works there, it will work everywhere. We said, okay, we installed those machines, 10 days, 24 hours, worked fine. They gave us a contract. We and then we became number one in the fixed wireless terminal and fixed wireless phone market that time on the GSM side. So life was going okay. Everything was fine. Again, one day, from Airtel, I got a call from one of a very senior guy. He said, Rahul, there's a problem in your machine. Can you just go and check? I said, I'll send some engineer. He said, no, you yourself go and check. I said, okay. I took a flight. This problem was happening in some interiors of Bengal. So I landed in Kolkata, took a cab, went there, saw the problem, solved it. While I was going back, I saw this Airtel ISD PCO. In a village there was no electricity. I asked my cab driver, I said, stop the car. I just walked inside. And I said, Bhai Sahab, how are you operating this payphone because there's no electricity in the village? He showed me a big truck battery there. He said, Sahab, yahan se power lete hain. I said, this is fine. Those days we were using, of course, we were not making phones, so I was using, some other phone. Weak signal area. There was no signal in my phone. I said, there's no signal. How are you drawing signals? He showed me a big 20 dB gain antenna with 30 meters of wire on his, mounted on a pole on his terrace. He said, Sahab, yahan se signal aata hai. I got more intrigued. I said, this is fine, but how do you charge the battery because there's no electricity? He said, Sahab, 11 kilometers away, there's a village. I lug this on my bicycle overnight, charge it there, and then come back in the morning. I said, how much money do you make? He said, Sahab, 2,500 rupees mana lete hain. Now, 2,500, 3,000 rupees in a village where there is no electricity is a big amount of money. This means there's no entertainment, there's no TV, there's nothing. Then I was traveling in interiors of Bihar and I saw people with chargers. And it was, on top of it was written, pay 25 rupees to charge your phone. Because there was no energy, there was no power in their home. So people were coming out and getting their phones charged. So that was the time I came back. I sat with my other co-founder. I said, Sumit, why can't we make phones? And he said, phones? He said, who's going to buy phones with Micromax written on top of it? See, because when you look when you look from outside, this whole industry looks quite intimidating because at that time, it was only these four multinationals worldwide. It's Nokia, Samsung, Motorola, or Sony Ericssons of the world. So it looks quite intimidating. Yeah, phone, how can, because all these companies were there with deep pockets, how will you make phones? And there were no stories there of a local player coming out and doing business in that segment. This is something like today, if I ask you, or tell you that, oh, I want to make an airplane. So you'll say, are you going crazy? You're going to fight Boeing or Airbus. So these guys were quite big. I mean, Nokia at that time was having like 75% market share. So that time, so our business was around 100 crores. We were happy. We come from very humble background. My dad was a principal in school, and so as my other co-founders. So we were doing around a revenue of 150 crores, and we were quite happy. BMW launched the 3 Series. I just bought the 3 Series that time. So we were quite happy and in our happy zone. घर वालों को भी लगा चलो लड़का settle हो गया, कुछ कर रहा है, कुछ तो कर रहा है. So there was an internal resistance and everybody said, yeah, phones, no way. Things are going fine, why do you want to unnecessarily jeopardize? So I said, so again the question, would you buy the phones with Micromax written on top of it? So I said, I'm not the buyer. Buyer is sitting somewhere else. So I was allowed to make 10,000 phones. So I said, just make 10,000 phones. If it works well, we can do something. Otherwise, we are happy. So that's how Micromax mobiles were born. So we made our first phone with 1 month of battery backup. And we made the phone and say, okay, how do we distribute it? Because distribution was a big challenge in a country like India. We went back to all the distributors who were distributing Nokia and Samsung, and we said, okay, now we also make phones, would you like to distribute? Now we were, our revenue was 150, 200 at that time, and their revenue was 500 crores. They just offered us a cup of coffee, said, we'll be good friends, thank you. Now, phone to bana liya, but distributor nahi hai. So we went back to all our old distributors of Airtels and Vodafone who were distributing our fixed wireless terminals and phones. We said, now we also make phones, would you like to distribute? They said, Saab, rakh dijiye, if it sells, we will see, because they were making money with us on our fixed wireless terminals. So we gave our phones to them. Within first 10 days, all 10,000 phones were sold off. And we started getting repeat orders. 1 month, 2 months, we started getting more and more orders. We were not having any money for advertising. And it was just, of that viral effect because there was no apple-to-apple comparison. The phone was solving some need of the consumer. And just by word of mouth, they were selling. And price was not the question there because, there was no direct apple-to-apple comparison. We said, fine, everybody, came up and say, okay, there is a market. And we also realized there is a big market. So we said, okay, let's do something more. So one day I saw my cook using 3 SIM cards. I said, yeah, why are you using 3 SIM cards? He said, साहब एक तो local calling के लिए. I said, ठीक है, दूसरा किस लिए? बोला साहब दूसरा गांव call करने के लिए. I said, ये भी ठीक है, तीसरा किस लिए? He said, साहब incoming free आती है, so I'm not throwing this away, I'm just keeping it. Now these are those days when STEL, Videocon, and all these new operators coming in. I again went back, we sat on the drawing board, I said, why can't we make phone which, with a single baseband, we can have a dual SIM? Again, the question came in and said, 2 SIM cards? Because the consumer thing, people were thinking that, 2 mobile phones only rich people can afford. But that was not the consumer truth. These were the guys who were using multiple SIM cards. Because we will always, keep our number constant. These guys, whenever their new plan, comes in, they will always change their number. And that's how, first phone with dual SIM on a single baseband will be launched. I still remember I was in Hyderabad showing, demo to our distributors. Everybody, just jumped up and, started clapping because that was the time they said, "Saab, phone de dijiye." At that time, that phone was selling in, they were selling in black. Not a good thing though, but and it became a viral. And that was the time we realized that this is a humongous market, and I think we caught people napping at that time. Huge, humongous opportunity, and we realized that people are cooking all those multinationals, they were cooking their food in Finland or in Korea, which was not having an Indian flavor. So we said, okay, what is our aspiration? At that time we set our aspiration. I said, okay, the day we will become the #1 Indian company, we'll be happy. That time it was only, there was only one company which was an Indian mobile company, which was Spice Mobile. So we said, okay, बचपन से सुना है, टाटा, बिरला, मोदी. हमने कहा चलो कभी कुछ ऐसा कर लेंगे तो if we can become #1, that will be great. Within first 6 months, I mean our target was 3-4 years. Within first 6 months, I think we took them over. And we realized that this market has tons and tons of gaps. And we said, we will only make phones, we will only identify these gaps and only make products to fill these gaps. We will never follow the roadmaps of all these Nokias or Samsungs or all the multinationals of the world. Because, see, if in this industry, if there are 3 success stories, there are 97 failure stories also. Siemens, Panasonic, BenQ, there are tons of companies which came and we went, with deep pockets and went back. But everybody, the strategy was 5 segments, ultra low cost, mid segment, mid high, 2 phones in each category. They said, okay, if Nokia Color FM phone is 17,000 rupees, I am 1,400 rupees. You can't win this war on pricing alone. And the moment you start looking at their products, it's a honey trap. Because then you eventually, in back of your mind, you will start making, products which are very similar. You will not have anything which is individual, which you feel is right. So we said we will never follow the roadmap of all these companies. We will identify these gaps and we will see how it works. So we created first phone with 30 days of battery backup. We created first phone with dual SIM. We created phones for girls, and those days there were no phone for girls. The only phone I saw for girls was a Dolce & Gabbana by Motorola. Now, how many people in India can buy a Dolce & Gabbana phone here? We made first phone with Swarovski and priced it at around $100. It was, it became a case study. Massive success. And again, just identifying those gaps and started making, products to fill those gaps. One ideology about innovation, that your products have to help your consumer in their day-to-day life, something or the other. So whenever we design a product, we always ask ourselves, why a consumer will buy this phone, why not a competition? So that's how we started moving on and started making different products and created all those different verticals. I saw people using using the Bluetooth dongle here. And whenever they were looking for a dongle, the dongle wasn't there. Even if it was there, they were not able to charge it. We said, why can't we put this dongle inside a phone? So we made a phone with a dongle inside. So that's how we created multiple segments. And from selling 10,000 phones a month, now we sell around 3 million phones every month. We became 10th largest mobile phone company in the world. From one country now, we're in 7 countries. So I have tons and tons of stories to tell you on Micromax, but this is in short because we have a timer here. And we have various phases, Micromax. So right now, when people ask me, I say this is Micromax 3.0, because Micromax 1.0 was when we started with feature phones, 2.0 when we started making smartphones. Now, 3.0 is, we feel that this whole hardware game in next 2 years, 3 years, whatever time will hit the ceiling, like the laptop industry. How much can you innovate? How much cores can you put in? How, in terms of camera, how many megapixels of camera you can put in? Someday, this will plateau. So the game will eventually shift onto services. So right now, we are, as an organization, we in Micromax is now becoming more of a services company rather than a company just making phones. So when I say an ecosystem of services means you have this now, this device practically 24 hours with you. Even those alarms and everything is gone. And seriously, morning, the moment you get up, I'm sure you will just take up your phone and first you'll see how many messages and mails and everything, because everything is happening out here. We say, how can we create an ecosystem and how can we help our consumers? Whatever they're doing, how can we touch them? And that's how we created a separate wing, which our VP Kumar Shah is here, wearing a jacket, typical VC jacket, and investing in companies in all startups and trying to integrate all those startups into the ecosystem what we're trying to create. So we have done a couple of investments, and we're looking for more and more investments and trying to integrate those companies which are strategic to us, and just trying to ensure that we create a great ecosystem so that we can touch our customer. Earlier it was in their day-to-day life. Now we want to touch our customer every 15 minutes, every 20 minutes, whatever you're thinking. From listening to a song, to a movie ticket, to your travel, to your security, to your cloud storage, everything we want to integrate. So this is Micromax 3.0, and I think we have a great platform. Now our aspiration is we are number 10 in the world. How do we get into top 5 in the world and be a great services company? All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. You've been a great audience. Thanks, Dan. Thanks. Thank you.